There we go.
Okay.
All right, number 2 on our agenda, we just called the meeting to order. Number 2 are the minutes. Are there corrections to the minutes circulated by Rod earlier in the week?
There is a correction that I'd like to bring up. Commissioner Beach says that he was excused. He later joined in the meeting because he makes a comment below. So if it could be shown that he was not excused because he was able to participate in the meeting.
Okay. There was a moment where we had a discussion about viaducts, and I left that sort of discussion thinking that there was a group consensus that we should explore viaducts and move it forward. The minutes conveyed only 3 people. To me, it sort of seems to have conveyed only 3 people were supportive. So I think we should either correct the minutes, or we can just take a vote on it after we approve the minutes to have it on the record. Did anyone else feel that there was a consensus, or is that a vote necessary?
There was definitely a consensus. I think everyone was in agreement. There was general consensus for it. It doesn't hurt if you want to take a vote just to reinforce it, but I think we should adjust the minutes to show that the general consent was to move forward.
Okay, I agree. Thank you. All right, the minutes are accepted and corrected. They'll be circulated again. Thanks, Raymond. Questions and comments from our guests? Not a lot of guests today. Would any of them like to make a comment? No. All right, let's get to our financials. We're breezing right through this. Is Isaac on the line?
I sent you guys a message that he would be on within 10 minutes. He was in the car, so he's like, I'll be on in 10 minutes, was the text I got. Okay. So if we could maybe go to the next item.
Yeah, why don't we circle back to the financials? That would be the chairman update. So, all right, let's talk viaduct. First, I would like to, let me just ask, is the board all supportive in exploring the viaduct option and writing an RFP find the expense of the project? Do we, I don't know, does that any want to show, do you want to use your hands to show emotion here on the reaction?
Greg, I don't quite understand your question.
And Greg, you can't make the motion. The chair is not allowed to make a motion.
Got it. Can I get a motion to explore an RFP for lighting on the viaduct?
So, Greg, just a question. Is the motion to actually issue an RFP so we can get more detailed information about the cost, or is it to explore writing the RFP, or is the motion actually
for writing the RFP? I think we want to take the steps necessary to figure out, some more structure and figure out what this thing could cost.
Yep. Okay, so moved. I move that we issue an RFP to further explore the renovating the viaducts and the costs involved.
And I'll second that.
All in favor?
We should have discussion first, because there is one.
Let's do that.
One issue of discussion is, who do we want to include in this analysis of what needs to be done? Is this going to be handled strictly through the SECC? Do we want to work with the aldermanic offices? Do we want to incorporate the university or any of our other major stakeholders in this early exploration before we make a money commitment?
I think that's what the exploration process needs to identify. Who are all the stakeholders? What are all the steps necessary? That was my thinking, at least.
So Greg, then, oh, go ahead, Wendy.
I was gonna say, who is physically going to write the RFP? The SSA staff, and then it'll be issued by the SECC SSA for response?
That's a good question.
I mean, writing an RFP is, it's not an easy task. So who's going to take on that task and then submit it to all of the entities that may wish to respond? Like there's a lot that goes into issuing an RFP. So before we make a formal decision that this is something that we want to do, I just want to be comfortable that the team that will be implementing this process is happy to do it.
Sure. Well, I think that sort of our groups, I think we want to take control of this to make sure that we can push it along. And so we should probably be the ones writing the RFP.
Who is we?
We is the SSA 61. Can we not write an RFP?
We as in the commissioners, or we as in the staff of the SSA? Who is the we?
I think I guess the we would be the SSA 61 staff. That would be Rod.
Okay,
Would own this.
that was my question. Thank you.
I think
Yes.
so.
Oh.
What do you think?
I mean, it doesn't matter what I think. It's really, and I don't mean that to sound flip. Does the team we have in place, do they have the time and the capacity to do the research, to issue the RFP and issue the RFP? Like, do they have the capacity to go through the process to do this?
So
If they do, then fantastic. But if they don't, then that needs to be considered before we take this vote. That's
a point of
my point.
a point of clarification of what Wendy is saying is that the motion is not to issue the RFP.
Oh,
It's to explore the
Oh.
RFP. We're not ready to send out an RFP yet. There's too many people who need to be talked with and consulted with this before the RFP can actually go out. So the motion was to explore, what needs to be in an RFP and how to proceed to make it work. Because, we'll have to do this in conjunction with CDOT or Metra, whoever are the party. And we don't even know who the parties are yet. So it's my understanding that the motion is actually to explore the process of what it will take to get an RFP ready to send out.
great. Then I will amend my question. Do the team we have in place, do they have the capacity to explore the process of going through the RFP?
Okay.
And I think only Rod and Diane can answer that.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know what they have on their plates.
My understanding to that question is that as commissioners, you all set my priorities and you all follow through on that. So whatever priorities you all set for me to do, those are the things that I'll work on.
And on behalf of the service provider, SECC, we recognize that a large part of Rod's focus this next year and a half will be the viaduct project as well as reconstitution and helping align both efforts into everything we're doing. And so we also understand that there'll be consultants that we hire for both efforts. So we will have some additional support.
Fantastic, thank you.
But I think it's the exploration, is how much is this going to cost us? These are all the people who are going to be involved. Really, like, is it realistic with the electricity? Things like that, feasibility for it.
I really like the question though, Wendy, because I think it sort of gets to the heart of the matter for us, of what we want to accomplish. You know, are we, from past conversations, I got the feeling that we were not happy with the status quo of keeping sure that the streets were cleaned and the money we were spending, just like power wash, to pick up garbage, to get the banner, to get a website. What I was hearing from this group is they want to do things that are more meaningful. Not that they don't want to do the things that, you know, keep the trains running, but they were looking to take on extra projects. But if I misread that sort of those comments, you guys would correct me so I don't go too far ahead exploring, you know, projects.
I think,
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think you're on the right track, Greg.
We got a lot of the TIF rebate, and as a collective, Greg, last month, as well as our discussions about what can we do with the TIF rebate dollars to really make a larger splash. And we have funds already budgeted for litter and for streetscaping and all the non-sexy things. Unfortunately, that's just the program, is providing special services. It's not exciting all the time, but it's necessary to keep our streets clean and foot traffic happy, right? And people happy. But since we have the TIF rebate, I think as a collective, we decided that targeting the viaduct is where it's going to make the most sense. And so in our modified budget, our budget draft for 2023, we did allocate funds that way. But it's going to be an ongoing process, which starting now, which is not even budgeted till for next year, but we're starting it now, the exploration, because we don't want to start next year. We want to get going. Same thing with reconstitution. We're starting this year. So I hope that answers some of the, you know, around it, but. Hi, Karen.
Okay. Does anyone else want to add to the discussion before we take a vote on Angie's motion to explore the RFP further?
I think the motion is, if I understand, the motion is just to explore and report back to the body of the membership. So I think that's altogether proper and the way it should be done.
Okay. Is everybody, who's in favor of the motion? Who's opposed to the motion? Anyone want to abstain? Okay, motion passes. This is difficult, you know, it's a difficult conversation, and there's a lot of people involved, and everyone's on mute and sort of doing their own thing on Zoom. So it's just it's a challenge to have good, healthy conversations. And I'm thinking maybe our next board meeting, we should do it in person. How does the group feel about doing a meeting in person?
It's not up to us, it's up to the city.
Are we not allowed? The
We
city's
have
no longer
not been
allowed.
No, I don't think that's true. Hold on a second. Let me, I think that.
Karen's checking, so she'll find out.
All right. So I think also what might be helpful after this meeting is no, I think we should have that the conversation to figure out sort of our how much bandwidth we had to take on more projects before we start thinking about what those projects would be. And I guess while Karen is working on that for us, maybe we should get to our financials. Isaac, are you prepared to walk us through it?
Yeah, Rod, can you share your screen so I can walk us through the financials? Can you hear me?
You should, yeah, you should be able to share.
No, I'm in my car, so I can't share. So can you just share your screen? And I can walk everybody
Okay,
through?
so you want me to pull up the financials
Yeah, please.
okay. All right, hold on one moment.
Just for clarification, while they're doing that, I just want everyone to know, Good Karen is actually Karen Forte. She's our liaison through the Department of Planning for SSA 61. So she attends these meetings when she can. And she's a great resource when we have questions that we don't 100% know. So she's finding it out. All right, back to you, Rod and Isaac.
Okay. Hold on one moment. I'm just gonna pull mine up. Okay. Is this fine?
Alrighty. Yep.
So you
Appreciate that.
can't have an
appreciate that.
in-person meeting if you want to. I thought so.
So the financials as of May 31st, 2022,
Ooh.
total cash in bank is 132,620 compared to 154 last year. Accounts receivable 294 compared to 135. So as we receive more tax collections during July and August, that number will come down. So total assets at 427,096 compared to 289,406. Liabilities, accounts payable 9,660 compared to 4,660. Deferred revenue 272 compared to 260. Due to SECC is 8,688 compared to 4,341. And the difference of that 4,347, it relates to the budget modification as it relates to the program manager's salary from January through April that the SECC had to be compensated for. Net assets, temporary restricted, 65,000 compared to 78. Net surplus, that's revenues less expenses. So far for the first 5 months, 70,000 compared to a shortfall of 58,000 this time last year. So total net assets at 136 compared to 19,000, and total liabilities net assets 427,096 compared to 289 this time last year. Any questions before we move to the budget versus actual? Okay. All right, we go to budget versus actual. So everything's pretty straightforward here. No revenues, no collections during the month. Expenses, just had a website and social media, and then farmers market, which came in 9,500. For the year, it's 24,000. So you're still under budget by 14. 2.0, public way aesthetics, sidewalk maintenance of 9,300, budget of 91. For the year, 20,000, budget of 42. Nothing for sustainability, nothing for economic development, nothing for safety programs. For management, you just had your bookkeeping, utilities, rent, equipment, and commissioners meeting of 1,000 compared to 1,800 for budget, 9,400 for the year, 9,300 budget. So right on target there. For office personnel, everything is right on budget. 4,833. Same thing for year to date. So overall for the month, 24,000. So you had no revenue come in, so there was a shortfall. But for the year, you have 77,000. And so you have revenues that were greater. And you have a net surplus of 70,000 at the end of May 31st. So from a liquidity standpoint, the organization is very healthy. Profitability, everything, the organization is very healthy. As we get into the summer months, as I know that's when a lot of the activities take place. So spending will start to increase. Last year, tax collections were very favorable. For the first disbursement, it was very favorable to the organization. So I anticipate things to be consistent in the second half. And I think the organization just set up for a healthy ending in December from a financial standpoint. And that concludes my report.
Thanks, Isaac.
Thank you.
George, are you able to walk us through your budget tracker?
Yes, but I had one minor issue before we left Isaac's report, and that is there was still a typo on E51 on the budget versus actual. There where it says 469, line 51, 6.07 equipment lease and maintenance. Right there. So if you look at the detail,
Oh, yeah, so we didn't make that, George, we didn't make that
Right.
modification from our
Right.
meeting.
it's
That'd be
just, that's why I
updated.
said it's just a typo. There's just one number, because the correct number down in 62 should be 79 rather than 77. It's just off by $200. It's a minor correction. So,
So we will make that, and thanks for that clarification.
okay.
Any other questions about Isaac's report? All right, George, let's talk tracker.
Okay. Let's see if I can share my screen.
I like that. Let's talk tracker.
Yeah. So here's the budget tracker, and I've hidden the months that are yet forthcoming, so it's a little easier to keep track of what we're looking at. And this just, as Mike McGarry had the nerve to say, this is the audit of Isaac. This is one of the purposes of the budget trackers, that we're auditing the numbers that Isaac are reporting, because these numbers that are shown in the budget tracker are actually compiled from the detail from Isaac's financial report, which is why I knew that this number was off, that it was still off by 200. Now we've got that corrected. The only thing that's worth noting about this, a couple of things on the budget tracker, is the only item that we have actually expended our budget on is the farmers market. We had allocated 8,000. That has been turned over to the farmers market. So that's right where it needs to be and should not change in the rest of the year. We corrected that one number on equipment lease and maintenance. And what Isaac was talking about in terms of the adjustment that was due to the SCCC, that actually is shown here in the yellow in the personnel, that the numbers that are showing in the budget tracker this month are not the numbers that were shown in the budget tracker last month, because when we went back to readjust the budget for this fiscal year to submit it for approval, we had to reallocate the funds for program manager and office administrator. Last month, these numbers down here at the bottom are the numbers that we were using. You can see that the program manager has been retro adjusted to be a more accurate reflection of how the budget is being parceled out. Bottom line is we've still only spent 22% of our budget. We still have 77, almost 78% of it still to spend as the year goes on. But I think hopefully moving ahead with these plans for the viaducts, we will not have any problem doing that. I think we can move ahead as long as our assessments come in a timely manner. We should be okay. Any questions about the budget tracker?
Thank you, George, for continually keeping this up. We really appreciate it. It's really great to, have systems in place that help us to make sure we're on track. And it's awesome. Appreciate it.
All right, no questions. And Diane, keep rolling.
Oh,
What about, you got 20, 22, and 23 budget?
That's gonna be rad.
Okay. I'm gonna share my screen. Hold on one moment, because this isn't what I want to show. So let me try this again. And this is the work plan. Why does this keep showing? Give me one moment here. Just trying to get this to show what I need. It keeps showing Isaac's.
Close it.
I would just close
Yeah,
it
I'm
all
gonna
the way
close
out.
it. Yeah. That's what I'm gonna do, and then try and open it again. Quit Excel. I'll save and let's open. But the one thing I wanted to do is I start to try and get my screen to share again was kind of remarry the budget back to the goals, because that's what makes up our work plan. As everybody has a tool, let's hope this shares correctly. Give me one moment, but we all have these wonderful tools. Isaac and George, you all have put together wonderful tools in terms of the budget and making sure that we stay on track. This is what I wanted to show. And one of the things I've been able to do is to kind of take those things and try to make some sense for myself to try and govern the budget a little bit better. What I did here is I took Isaac's, one of his financials, and I added one more column you'll see in J. And what that is for me is how much of the budget did we actually spend? Because the projects that we approve in the work plan, those we have to do them in the season sometimes. And my example of that is you all see the flowers in the flower pots. Well, we've designated the money to spend it on that, but we've also run into the challenge where we don't expect the August disbursements. So it's, can we spend the money given the goals that we set, saying that the time frame we were going to do it? For something like the flower pots, that makes a lot of sense, because if we push that off, by the time you get to September or October, you really can't buy plants. So we have to spend that in the second quarter in which we allocated it. But having the percent of the budget spent tells us where we really are. When we get to customer attraction, we've only spent about a quarter of the budget, a little more. Public way, the things that we spent it on, the trash pickup, we spent a little less than 20%. Where we are with the other three items, those are kind of due at the third or fourth quarter. Public safety, for instance, we support the collaboration. And that's not going to come to the fourth quarter. So it makes sense that we haven't spent some things in these categories. The other thing that appears to be on track are the management and the personnel. Well, management and personnel, you don't really put off. You don't put off rent until the fourth quarter, because you have to pay it across and in terms of salaries. So these numbers represent, we're at 42% of the budget. I mean, that's the end of May. If that number was 50 or 60%, we'd have a problem, because we have several months of management and personnel expenses to go. So this is what we've spent so far, and the total budget, we've spent about 22% of the budget, but it's prudent because our tax collections aren't gonna be where we think they are. So we're using this, for instance, banners we should have replaced by the second quarter, but we can hold off on that and try and match that when our revenues come. And this is basically 2022. Now the next one, it's not as pretty as the first, but these are the goals. These are the things that when we put together and approve the 2022 budget, we said we would do, and these are the measurements. So all of the financial that we go over, this is what it goes into. First quarter, for instance, we said the website would get unique visits. Second quarter, we did that, and I'll just go through some of them. Garbage removal, we're still doing that with Clean Slate. We'll go back to one. And this is decorative banners. We said that we would do about 110, but we held off on that. That makes sense because we're not getting the revenues. My whole point in bringing all of this up is to remarry the work plan. In other words, the goals and the things that we said we were going to do with the expenses to keep those in line. Both are important. And I think we need to look at this a little bit more going forward. I'll make this a little bit more prettier, but as we do some of our reports going forward, we also need to focus on the goals as part of the work plan. This is what we're getting ready to approve in a couple of weeks. The 15th of July is when 2023's work plan is due. And important in that is the goals that we set. So if, for instance, I'm going to try and find where we talked about the viaduct, public enhancement, public transit enhancement, improve viaducts and signage. For this year, we've had that for the third quarter, but as we talked about the viaduct project, this is where we increased this significantly to cover for the lighting program. Yeah, in terms of the farmer's market, it's going very well. I've been to the last two, and what I've seen in terms of the vendors, the people, and just the overall operation has been fantastic. So we're off to a fantastic start with the farmer's market. The 4th on 53rd parade, I've been going to the meetings there. That's coming up this Monday. So for SSA, SECC volunteers, we're asking if anyone wants to come out and march with us. We're participating in the parade. So please come out and join us. And the last thing I wanted to mention was we'll resume the monthly program committee meetings Tuesday on July 5th at 10 a.m. over Zoom. So those are all of the things I have for the updates for the programs. Is there any questions regarding that?
We gave the 4th on 53rd Parade Committee $5,000.
Yes. Yeah, we are a major sponsor. So we sponsored them to the amount of $5,000.
Got it. Are we also helping to organize that event, or was it our responsibility to just write a check?
We're not necessarily helping with the nitty-gritty details. We are advising them on the committee calls. And if there is areas where we can help Nichols Park in terms of, let's say, if they have some information we need, is there something we can get for them? If somebody is suggesting something that's kind of a little bit out of line or whatever, we are advising them, but we're not participating to the level of a committee. They're handling that themselves.
Any other questions about programs? Okay. Sounds like we all have a busy day. We're looking to get back to work. Any questions or comments from commissioners? Okay, let's adjourn. The next meeting is July 26th.
Oh, George,
yeah.
George has
You're on mute.
something.
Greg, sorry,
George is muted.
quick question. Do we, at some point, do we need to, not now, but in the next few weeks, to take a vote on the budget so it can be submitted to the city? I know the city hadn't released the EAVs last I'd heard, so the budget's not finalized yet. So Diane, Rod, is that something where we need to have a special meeting in the next couple of weeks to do a vote, or are we set on the budget?
We'll have to have a special meeting to vote on the budget. We're still looking for the EAV. So until we get that, we can't upload the budget. We can't turn it in because you haven't voted on it, but it's not complete. Well, yeah, when we get, Karen?
I'm sorry. Yes. Yes. I'm talking to Mark back and forth. Go ahead. Was there a question for me?
Yeah, George had asked if everything was okay with the 2023 budget. Was that complete? We're missing the EAV number. So when we get the EAV number, we can present that to the commissioner so that they can vote on it. And then we'll be able to upload that to SharePoint.
Okay, so, I don't know who can stay or not, but I was gonna ask, because I'm not gonna talk about you guys' budget over the recording. I know that the chair runs a tight ship on this meeting, but I wanted to ask, you and the chair and where's, Diane, to chat a little bit about, after this, because I have some concerns about some of the things with the budget. And I was trying to get some direction from Mark at the same time, which is why I was in and out, in and out. So it's 11:49. It sounds like you guys were about to adjourn, but if 10 minutes with the 1, 2, 3 of you all,
Okay.
it's possible.
Yeah, I'll
I
stick
can
around.
set that up.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can set that up. Are we
Oh, I was just
looking
saying on here after,
on here?
yeah. Just need a couple minutes.
The rest of
Okay.
us will go away. You three stay online.
Mm,
Okay. Yeah, you and I need to be on this.
So
EAB.
Diane, Rod, the chair.
Sure.
After,
All right, we'll stay on after the call.
Okay, let me make sure that we're not recording.
Okay.
Is everyone on the call with us now?
did you adjourn? I'm sorry, I'm talking.
We have
about-
not, but we're about to, and everyone
Okay.
can bounce if they want to stay, they can. But we are now adjourning our meeting, and there'll be an invite for the July 26th meeting to be a hybrid meeting. And I will see everybody then. Have a great day, guys.